Hello. All right. It's the largest crowd ever for a tough finale, first of all. We had 6,500 in attendance. The gate was 531,000. Fight of the night was Tershawn and Issa. Performance of the night, Issa. Oh, yeah. Yeah. He won $100,000. Congratulations. I love it. I love when that happens. Let's see. What else do I got? Oh, yeah. Sorry, Martin's won the other one. Yeah. So he wins $50,000. Thank you. I'm on my last leg, boys. I'm about to drop dead, so bear with me tonight. So let me go through the bonuses for the fight of the season. Fight of the season was Spawn versus Matt Van Buren. They win $25,000 each. Congratulations to them. And then performance of the season, both of the performance of the seasons go to Diego Lima. So he wins $50,000 for that season. So congratulations to those guys. Everybody's here. BJ's getting stitched up, and then he'll be here in a minute. First question, raise your hand. They'll bring you the mic.
Dana, couldn't help but notice you had to get up and leave your seat cage side during the main event. I just wonder if you could talk about kind of what was going through your head at that point and kind of what it felt like to watch the main event unfold tonight.
Yeah, everybody knows where I was and how I felt and what I wanted. BJ Penn is a guy who I get to this point where I understand it and I get it. You know, and the fans go crazy on me when I want guys to retire. But BJ Penn is a guy that BJ Penn was our jiu-jitsu coach before we even bought the UFC. You know, so I've known this guy forever. He's one of two people who's won 2 titles in 2 different weight classes. He built the 155-pound division. He's a legend. He helped build the UFC. And the list goes on and on of what BJ Penn has done. I've said this a million times. He's got a beautiful wife. He's got beautiful kids. He's got a great family. He owns a UFC BJ Penn gym in Hawaii. What more do you want, BJ? There's nothing left to prove. Fighting is a young man's sport. And guess what? Matt Hughes could still fight in the UFC. And so could Chuck Liddell, and so could Forrest Griffin. I don't want to make $1 of that kind of money.
And he was brutally honest. I mean, he said in there that he felt he shouldn't have been in there tonight. Do you think there's any danger at all that you're going to hear from him again a year from now, 18 months from now, and saying, Dana, please give me one more chance?
I'm going to hear so many crazy things from BJ Penn over the next 10 years, but that's part of the fun of BJ Penn. And, you know, what I will do is, like we've always done, me, him, and his family will sit down and we'll talk and, you know, figure this thing out.
I guess,
but, you know, and the other thing that BJ, that makes BJ is BJ just didn't say, hey, I want another fight. BJ goes after the number 3 ranked guy in the world, like one of the baddest dudes on the planet. You know, BJ didn't just want another fight. He went after a monster, you know.
And Frankie, if we could get your thoughts. I mean, obviously, I'm sure during the course of a fight, you can't be thinking about, here I am, you know, possibly beating this MMA legend into retirement. You've got to get the job done. But I guess in retrospect, it's just kind of a somber mood tonight. You know, does that translate over to you at all? I mean, is it kind of bittersweet for you at all, that kind of seeing him walk away, or do you just enjoy another victory?
No, you know, I kind of said that myself. I felt that as you know, the finish was going on, it was bittersweet. I didn't get up and celebrate like crazy, kind of because I felt like that was what was going to happen. You know, BJ will always be mentioned with my name just because we fought 3 times, and you know, I got the title from him, and you know, when I first got into the sport, BJ was the guy, you know, and he did a lot for the lightweight. So I think we all owe BJ a lot.
Dana, you referenced, you know, you didn't want the fight in the first place. Do you regret making it? You know, when he called you saying, "Hey, dude, you're not capable of doing this, and you're biting off too much you can chew."
No.
Why not?
I'd regret it if I made another one. Not this one. It's at the end of the day, he's BJ Penn. He wanted to come back. I mean, when I called Frankie, it wasn't like Frankie didn't go, "What? Are you kidding me? Are you crazy? He's the number 3 ranked guy in the world." He's like, "Yeah, I'll give BJ another shot. I'll fight him again." I mean, we're talking about BJ Penn. It's not like we're talking about, you know, some crazy guy coming out of nowhere and saying, "Hey, I want to fight Frankie Edgar." You know, BJ's got listen to the crowd tonight. Listen, look at the most attended, you know. And listen, boys, you delivered, you did it. But let me tell you what, people weren't flocking to see the finale of the Ultimate Fighter season 19. Okay, right. They weren't flocking in droves because that season was so successful and the fights were amazing. They were coming in because BJ Penn was fighting again against the number 3, you know, badass monster Frankie Edgar. That's why people were flocking.
The other question I have for you is it drove you crazy during his career when he said he wanted to win all the titles and, you know, keep moving up and weight and doing that. But isn't that what made him so beloved by a lot of the fans? Because he was willing to do anything and challenge himself beyond what most other fighters were willing to do.
The one thing that I've learned in my however many years in the fight business is people love real fighters. People love guys who love to fight. You know, one of the most famous, most beloved fighters of all time, Chuck Liddell. You know, Chuck Liddell would fight with me about fighting. You know, he would do it for free in a backyard. He would do it anywhere, and he would fight anybody, and that's why people loved him. Arturo Gatti was one of the most beloved fighters. I mean, if you look at all the guys that people really love as fighters, they're guys who love to fight. And BJ Penn is one of those guys. BJ Penn was so fun to watch, and he would say crazy stuff. You know, when BJ Penn ruled the world, man, the phone calls that I would get on a weekly basis was just mind-boggling.
Is he a guy that, you know, you mentioned Forrest and Chuck and some of those guys, they have jobs with the UFC. Would you kind of give him some kind of
BJ does.
no-show job type thing?
Yeah, BJ does. BJ, you know, we did a UFC gym with BJ, you know. That's no joke. BJ's a partner in that thing, and it's kicking ass.
The gym, though, might be like an inducement to, you know, he's working out and teaching somebody else, right? And, you know, an inducement to come back.
He comes in, shakes hands, kisses babies, and walks around the gym and then leaves. You know, it's not like he's in there training people and scrubbing the floors and, you know, cleaning the mirrors. BJ's doing all right.
And then two other questions, one for Frankie and one for you. Do you see Frankie getting another title shot at featherweight? And would you even consider, I know it's quick to put him against Mendez in August?
Yeah. You know, Aldo's going to be out 45 days. The Mendez-Aldo fight can still happen. And then I gotta call Frankie Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday and see where he's at and what he's thinking, what he wants to do.
And Frank, can you just talk about your thought? I mean, obviously, you know, you said in the ring you wanted to fight for a title again. I mean, would you, you know, are you ready for that to be your next fight if you got the winner of Aldo and Mendez? You know, Dana says they fight in 45 days.
For sure, for sure, I'd fight the winner of that fight. I've jumped to it.
Frankie, obviously you fought BJ on 2 other occasions. The first one was close. Second one wasn't so close. This one obviously is very dominant. Can you talk about those 3 performances, what you saw to BJ, what changes you saw to BJ in those 3 fights?
I don't know if so much of the change I saw in BJ. I think it's changed I saw myself. You know, the first time I fought him, I was kind of, you know, I guess wet behind the ears. You know, he was BJ Penn. You know, I believed I could beat him, but you know, then I beat him the first time. The second time, I knew I could beat him, and then this time, I feel like I was the man. I was the one that was supposed to win. So, you know, I went and did it, you know, dominantly.
I know you said before the fight you wanted to finish BJ. You went out there and did it. But we saw a variety of things from you tonight. Obviously, your boxing's been a big point of contention, but your wrestling, your ground and pound, you know, maybe a little bit more aggressive with that. You just talk about your progression in that and how dominant you were, how one side of a fight that really was. You know,
I'm just always trying to get better in all areas, and I feel like I still have room to grow, and that's a scary thing. You know, I'm in the gym all the time, and I had a year off since I fought, but I didn't take any time off. I really didn't. You know, sometimes I don't know how good it is for my body, but I can't stay out of the gym.
I know you clarified numerous times when somebody said, you know, you said you wanted to retire BJ, and you said I never said that, but now that it's over, it seems like BJ is calling it a career. I mean, what does it mean to you to you know, be that guy and also have that rivalry so much that he wanted to come back just to face you again?
You know, I get it. Like Dana was talking about, BJ is just a fighter. You know, he wanted that redemption, and you know, he's a guy. I'm the guy that he felt he can get it back at. But yeah, you know, I'm not looking as I retired BJ. I think if you know, who knows if he won or anything. I heard him saying that he was talking about, you know, one fight and retiring, or if it was a different guy, he may have retired. So you know, I'm not that guy. I just wanted to go and get the job done tonight.
And a question for Eddie Gordon. Eddie, you went on The Ultimate Fighter, and you guys obviously took a lot of criticism for your performances on the show, but you came out there and really put on a dominant performance. What was it like going in there tonight, and was that in the back of your mind, hearing this over the last, 13 weeks that, the show didn't show up and the fights didn't show up, and you and Corey both went out there and completely revamped any thoughts maybe anyone had on that show?
Yeah, no, Dana White's good at what he do. He's an ultimate motivator. I'm very self-motivated. I didn't go in there tonight thinking I need to do this, I need to do that. I just wanted to be who I was and the fighter that I continually grow with. And it meant a lot. I felt as comfortable in that cage as ever. The show, it's a grind, man. You don't get to see everything. It's tough on your body. I'm not the smallest 85-pounder, so making weight that many times, but it is what it is. Fighting's fighting. It all made me a better fighter, and I was able to showcase my abilities today. There's much more to come.
And a quick question for Corey Anderson. Corey, I know, we talked a lot this season, and you had said that, when you started the show, you'd been training for about a year and a half at that point. Very, very young in the sport. You took, obviously, about 9 months between the show filming and now. We saw tremendous improvement in your hands. I know you work with Frankie and his coaches a lot. What was it like stepping in there, and do you feel like this was a real showcase of who you're going to be as a fighter now? I mean, you're barely 2 years into the sport.
I think tonight was a showcase of what I can be, but just a start of what I'm going to develop to be. I'm going to get even better, I feel. I'm going to keep going back to Frankie's camp and learning from the great coaches out there and all the great fighters they have. And I continue to grow. I mean, like Mark Henry told me, he says, you got that white belt mentality. And it's true. Every time I go into anything, if I go to wrestling practice and I took second in the country, I'm willing to learn. I'm there to learn anything you can show me. Like you said, I was young. And, yeah, I told Coach when I got there, I'm here. I'm a dry sponge, and I want you to teach me everything you can. I'm going to just keep absorbing until there's nothing else we can learn. But hopefully I continue to learn every day.
I've got a question for Derek. Could you talk a little bit about your past and how, I know people talk no? Oh, okay. Because people talk about sometimes how the sport, has changed their life and saved their life in a way. And would you say that that's the case for you?
Yes, I truly believe it saved, like, me, my family. The path that I was heading on wasn't the right path. And I believe that's the only way that I could have changed, by going into that situation, like going to prison and stuff like that. Because I grew up without a father, so tough love was the only thing I knew.
At what point did you find the sport?
A few months after I got out.
Yeah. And Dana, what do you have to say about the idea that he mentioned calling out Matt Mistrione? Obviously, Matt's healthy. Derek didn't take much damage. Is that a fight you could put together soon?
Probably, yeah. We'll see what happens, yeah.
All right, cool.
He's a scary guy, man.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah.
See the one he missed? Shit.
Thank you. And Frankie, for you, just curious how you feel. Obviously, all of your guys were in the finals, and it speaks to what you do as a coach. I'm just curious if you thought these two would be the ones holding the statues at the end of it all.
I'm proud of these guys. They put a lot of work in during the show, and obviously they continue to do so. Corey, I see on a daily basis. Matt, Eddie trains with Matt and Chris and those guys, and they're close to us. So, I know he's going to be well prepared. The cream rises to the top, and it did tonight.
Great. Okay, and now that BJ, you are here, first, thank you for everything you've done over the years, and obviously people want to know, have you officially decided to stop fighting?
Yes, of course. This is the end. I'm thinking to myself, why did you step back in the octagon after the beating that Rory McDonald gave you? And the reason is because I really needed to find out if I didn't do if I didn't make this night happen for myself, I would have always wondered, and I would have always went back and forth and begged Dana to let me get back in, and I guess I needed some closure.
And you specifically needed closure with Frankie, or you just specifically needed one more opportunity in the octagon?
One more octagon. I mean, I was gonna see how far I could take it. I was gonna see what happened when I stepped in with Frankie, and then I was gonna see where it went from there. If it was a good victory that I could walk away with, or if I was still hungry and wanted to do it again.
And did you feel that pretty quickly in the fight that it wasn't right anymore?
Well, I definitely, when the blood started going all in my eyes and everything, and the fight started getting real tough, you know, I realized it takes a high energy level to compete with the top people in the world. It's, you know, you could have every technique figured out, you could have this and that and all your theories ready to go, and at the end of the bottom line is you need a high energy level to compete against these guys. They're very hungry. They want to be the best. You know, I can sit here and say 1,000 times that the sport passed me by, but it's just, there's just such quality people, you know, in the UFC at the moment.
Thank you.
Hi, BJ, in the back here. I was curious if you could reflect for us on what was your best moment, your biggest achievement here in the UFC.
Well, I thought you were going to ask me what was my best moment tonight. Walking out, probably. My best moment in the UFC, you know, I guess now that I look back, you know, I'm going to have to look at my biggest accomplishment, and, you know, it's the 2 belts in the 2 weight classes, and I really wanted to see if I could make it 3, but, you know, you're talking about the best guys in the world. You know, you look at someone like Frankie Edgar, you think, oh, that little guy, you know, this and that, but, you know, these guys, they want it. They want it. And even if you're sitting there and you think you figured something out, or you got something that you're going to, you know, surprise somebody with, first thing you got to do is have more heart than these guys. And that's what all these people sitting up here right now have a lot more. They have that, and you can't see it by looking at them. You can only see it by feeling it.
And would you say that you have any regrets at this point of anything that maybe you didn't get to accomplish that you had wanted to?
The biggest regret would have been is if I didn't get in the ring tonight, because I'd always wonder, and I'd always kick myself in the butt, and I'd always complain to Dana and complain to everybody that, man, I could have did it again. And now I know for sure that I can't.
Thank you.
Yes, this question for BJ. BJ, you mentioned a couple of your great accomplishments in the sport. At the end of the day, what do you feel you want the fans and the commentators and those that follow the sport most? What do you want to be most remembered by, and what do you think your lasting legacy is?
My lasting legacy would, you know, my lasting legacy now is just going to be in highlight reels, and, you know, Dana gave me an opportunity to work with the UFC gyms and do different things, so, you know, I can continue to feed myself over, you know.
He's one of the best 155-pounders of all time. He built that weight class. He built that weight class, and he was responsible for helping build the UFC. That's his legacy.
And this question's for Frankie. Frankie, what do you feel like these 3 fights with BJ Penn have done for your career, and how do you think that this has helped define your legacy in the sport?
I mean, just to be, like I said, you know, before, BJ is going to forever be a part of my career. You know, the upside of my career started with BJ, him giving me the title shot. And, you know, when you have, through 3 fights with a guy, or whenever I'm mentioned or whenever BJ's mentioned, I feel, you know, the other guy's going to be mentioned. So, you know, I think all lightweights, all little guys, or not even, just everybody in the UFC owes a lot to BJ.
Question for Frankie Edgar. Frankie, about your game plan tonight. With each of the 3 fights with BJ, we've seen you win in a more convincing fashion, but also it seems like your game plan has opened up. You know, by the second fight, we saw your takedowns being showcased. Tonight, you were jumping in BJ's guard, following him to the ground. Was that part of the game plan going in with each successive fight, your confidence growing, fighting him, or was that just circumstances dictating?
I think it's just the development of my, my skills and my beliefs in myself. BJ's was a tough mountain to climb, and it takes confidence and belief in yourself to keep getting to the next stage. And I think that just has to do with the time I put in the sport.
And question for the Ultimate Fighter winners tonight, Corey Anderson and Eddie Gordon. Eddie, to you first, and then if we could go to Corey with the question. Did the two of you, we don't always see all of the storylines on the Ultimate Fighter after editing. It was a big night for Team Edgar, but did the two of you throughout the course of the season have any particular friendship connection moments together? Because you guys are always going to be associated on this finale with two guys who had spectacular first-round knockouts that were 10 seconds apart. Did you guys, during the course of the season, have any particular bond?
Yeah, well, we definitely had a tight bond. I'm very outspoken, if you guys didn't notice that, but Corey's great. We had a tight-knit group from the start to finish. I think if you ask any one of our teammates, we were all tight. You probably didn't get to see the bond between me and Corey, but he pushed me. Like, I was the bigger 85-pounder, so I probably trained with Corey just as much as I did with anybody else on the show. He's an awesome wrestler, and he helped me grow a lot. Being able to compete on a high-level guy every single day, he made me a better fighter without a doubt.
To you, Corey.
I have to second exactly what he said. I mean, we became kind of like brothers. I mean, there was times while we was in practice, we get into arguments over little stuff, like little nitpicking stuff, and we were just tired, exhausted, like brothers do. But at the house, we were very close. I mean, as you saw in my semifinal fight, I picked him and gutted to corner me, and I picked Eddie because we had worked so much, and he knew me, and it was close. Like, if we went for a run, we was doing it together. We was around the fire every night together, cooking together, hanging out. They just lived on the second floor, and I was on the first, so you didn't get to see much of us. But me and Eddie was very close.
And finally, to you, Dana, you have not been shy about your criticism of this season of The Ultimate Fighter, but tonight, two spectacular first-round knockouts by these guys. Does it take some of the sting out of what's been seeming like the bane of your existence the last couple of months?
Yeah, I walked into the octagon after and said, where the hell were you guys all season? And yeah, you know what? The great thing about fighting is you're only as good as your last fight. You can go in there in one night and change an entire season, and they definitely did that tonight. You want to talk about delivering, man. These guys delivered. Great fights.
Question for Frankie. I know you haven't fought in a year and you just had a third child. So do you want to come back quickly and be more active for the second half of the year, or do you want to take some time off now?
I want to definitely fight before the year's over. I want to get more than one fight in this year. So, go home, talk to the team, and see what's up. But, before the year's over, I'd like to fight for sure.
And I know you also said that you wanted a title shot or someone that would get you close to a title shot. If you can't get the title shot, is there someone that is of interest to you?
I'm really not a name caller, but, Danny said I'm number 3. I thought I was number 2. So whoever's number 2, I guess, would be good.
I don't know what you are. These guys change every friggin' day. Even when guys don't fight, guys get changed in the rankings. Who knows? Would one of you guys give Kevin Howley the mic? You want the mic, Kev? Oh, you're not done yet? Oh,
no.
Okay.
Well, I just wanted to know, BJ, are you okay to answer a couple?
Yes, sir.
Just curious how you felt as a featherweight for the first time, and did you feel like maybe if you were at 155 or obviously 170 that you could have performed differently?
That's neither here nor there, Ariel. That's just all speculation at this point.
Okay. And it seemed from watching you and from watching some of your fights that you changed your stance a little bit, the way you were attacking. Was that something specific that you had worked on in this camp?
Yeah, I was trying to use some range, some distance, but Frankie mixed it up well, cut some good angles, stayed busy, and he got to me.
And finally, do you think you'll stick around in martial arts now that you're not fighting? Do you still want to remain a part of fighting, or do you want to do something completely different now?
We'll stick to the UFC gyms at the moment, and that's a lot of what I've done my whole life and a lot of what I know. So it's gonna be tough to completely walk away from all that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ariel.
BJ, congratulations on a great career. I wonder, talk about your first win over Matt Hughes, because that remains one of the, epic fights in UFC history. Do you think in the aftermath of that, if had you stayed in the UFC and not, had the contract dispute and gone out, that, you might have accomplished some of those other goals that you set up to do, when you were talking about, running the table back in the day?
I was thinking about that a few months ago, actually, and who knows what could have been if I had all those other fights in the UFC, and it did cause a rift for a while, and it would have been interesting to see how everything would have unfolded.
And you mentioned in the little video that was played in the arena before the fight that, Frankie was your greatest rival. And, I kind of immediately thought of Hughes and GSP. And I'm just curious, since you said Frankie's your greatest rival, how you characterize those two and your, rivalry with them? Because a lot of people thought, maybe you were the three best welterweights of all time, too, or up to that point,
Mm-hmm. No, without a doubt, me and Matt and me and George have had some legendary clashes together, and they were good. It was it's just tough, definitely. I think that's what kind of made my career something to watch and to look at, is that I did have these different rivals throughout the years, and a fighter, like everybody always talked about Roy Jones at the beginning of his career. He never had anybody to fight against, and that's what makes a career great, to run into all these people. So I was actually just blessed to have these rivalries with these three people.
Question for BJ. Dana always talks about the guys that have built their careers from a countryside standpoint, meaning like GSP with Canada, or Cain Velasquez with Mexico. You were a guy that maybe before anybody had an entire state behind them. I mean, the entire state of Hawaii. When I was there, you see BJ Penn billboards. I mean, I've never seen that before in the sport, and that was in 2006. What did it mean to have Hawaii behind you? And the crowd this entire week was insane. I mean, your name gets mentioned, your video pops up. I mean, again, you're a fighter. I don't know how much that plays into it, but what did that mean to you?
It's always been so amazing, the support I got. It would be the strangest thing. I'd lose a fight and I'd go walk down the road. I couldn't walk down the road, and I'd say I'm gonna get more famous every time I lose a fight, or different things, and people just could connect with me. They felt that I was just a normal human being. In the off season, I'm overweight, and I'm just trying my best, like anybody else. I think the appeal was that, here he is. He's just a normal guy, just like us, and he's giving it his all.
And a question for Eddie Gordon. We saw your teammate last night, Chris Weidman, put on a brilliant performance, amazing performance. How much did Chris play into your camp this time, and training with him at the exact same time that he was getting ready for a title fight? You were 24 hours later. I mean, how much did he play a role in your performance tonight?
Man, it was priceless. Like, Chris played a big role in my life. Like, I didn't even know about mixed martial arts until I walked into the gym and he was there. Like, without him, I wouldn't even be here right now. He said, come check this sport out, and I fell in love. It's almost like a gift and a curse. I get to train with the world champion every day, so you take your bumps and bruises along the way. But in reality, it doesn't matter who I go in the cage with, because they're not Chris Weidman. So just that advantage that I get mentally is huge. We push each other, to the limits, and every single day I'm in that gym, I learn something that's invaluable to a fight. Everybody in the UFC is good. If you don't believe in yourself, why should somebody else believe in you? So, he told me, just when you're sparring, doesn't matter who you're sparring with, just push it to the limit, exhaust yourself, and the fight can only get easier.
And one last one for Corey. Kind of a follow-up to what I asked Eddie earlier. Again, you guys did take a lot of criticism this season, for the performance and things, but it seemed like your development. We saw it start on the show, especially in the fight with Pat Walsh, where you started using your hands more and you were developing that jab. Then you come out in this fight, and it was hands and wrestling and everything. I mean, do you feel like this is, kind of not necessarily who you are as a fighter or who you're going to be, but kind of a follow-up to that season? Again, answering that criticism from Dana that everybody took on the show.
Like I said, it's a start of what I can become. That's what I'm thinking. I'm just going to continue to grow, and I'm not going to stick to one thing. I'm going to continue to work things as a mixed martial artist, and I want to learn. Yes, my hands are very developed now, and I feel confident with my boxing, and I probably lean a little more to my kicks now. It's just, but I just feel confident that I'm going to keep growing.
We'll take one more question.
Dana, now that this season of The Ultimate Fighter is wrapped, how pumped up are you about the debut of the strawweight women's division on the next season?
Yeah, I'm very excited. It's like nothing we've ever done before. We have the top 16 women in the world in that weight class, and it will crown a champion at the end of the season. So it's different, it's exciting, it's new. The women go after it. There's already been, the first day when they get in there, there's already been stuff. Half of them don't like each other. It's going to be a very interesting season.
Yeah, we heard Felice Herrig almost got thrown off the show on the first day.
What's that?
We heard Felice Herrig almost got thrown off the show on the first day.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that she almost got thrown off, but a fight broke out the first day almost.
So something to look forward to then.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Like I said last night at the press conference, been an unbelievable week. We really appreciate all your work, and see you at the next one.
Thank you, BJ.